Panel number 2, ladies and gentlemen. We will explore next generation security operations, SOC, SIEM, and SOAR. The esteemed panelists for this session are Mr. Vivek Gupta, Group CISO at Mankind Pharma. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together as we welcome him on stage. Mr. Vivek Gupta, sir. First seat, please. Thank you so much. Are we done? Thanks. Panelist number two is Mr. Rishi Rajpal, VP Global Security at Concentric Dutch India Services. Ladies and gentlemen, again, put your hands together as we call up him on stage. Rishi, sir, welcome. Thank you. And moderating this session is Mr. Sukrit Ghosh, Director at DSCI. Sukrit, welcome. All over to you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Shaurya, and thank you, Rishi. Thank you for joining us. And this is definitely the way Praveen was also mentioning earlier. The way we conceptualize this engagement is to create the future. And what best can it serve than the future with the government? And I am sitting with two stalwarts here. So I have my notes ready. As a moderator, I thought I should have some questions which at least appear intelligent. So I thought, let me just try and do that. And I did make my notes. I will make use of those also. And we will try to cover the three topical themes here, SIEM, SOAR, and SOC. And I think the world is talking about the next generation SOC. That's the way we are heading towards. So I thought, why not use them in an integrated fashion? And that's why I have a set of questions that we have thought of. I will start with Vic, you, because you represent the manufacturing industry, which has the IT and the OT side of it, which is again very important from government standpoint because all the critical infrastructure are something which the nation looks up to. So when you look at SOC for an IT and OT environment, what factors help you decide on choosing the SOC services in the first place? And what would you recommend the government ministries to kind of focus on with similar complexities of what you envisage in the industry?
Thank you, Sukrit. Thank you for this invitation. I've served in the Navy for 15 years, and I've been in the corporate world for 20 plus years. This is my 6th CISO stint. I've been a CISO since 2006 with a finance giant called Fidelity, like JP Morgan, Goldman Sachs. I've seen the birth of DSCI in 2008 when Dr. Kamlesh Bajaj and Vinayak were there. They were the first 5-10 employees. It's a pleasure to be here. Pleasure to be with all government folks. Looks like homecoming with my brother colleagues. Coming to the question which Sukrit asked, for a manufacturing sector where I am presently positioned, the journey of SOC started after joining. And what I did, I'm just sharing my real life example. And I was before this with Adani Group, and similar experiences in other giants was similar. The landscape of most of the environment as we are going digital is at the IT play first, and then comes OT. That is my experience. And maybe in some sectors, I was in Dubai, and in Middle East, energy sector is heavy. ADNOC, ENOC, all these oil and gas energy companies are there, where the investment on OT is very, very heavy. So if it is organizations like that, ONGC, IOC, BP or HP, there the investment on OT systems is lot, and so the SOC for OT will take equal priority to IIT. But in other sectors, depending on the digital footprint, the decision can be taken how to strategize first IT and then OT from the government perspective.
Thank you, Vivek. So, Rishi, you are handling an industry which is pretty complex because of the different processes it has. So, from a process optimization perspective, how do you approach SIM deployment across multiple business units, and how do you see that to be related to what we expect for the government?
Thanks, Sukrit. Pleasure to be here and sharing some of my views with all of you. I think when we look at SIM, first thing come to our mind, all of us, is it is detective. It will tell us that incident has happened. Now there are logs to be evaluated. I think if one thing you can take from this session is SIM can be preventive and SIM can preempt incidents. Now it is how you deploy your SIM with the proper threat intel that matters. So for example, every SOC that is fighting incidents, I don't know how many of you have had experience of fighting an incident. How SIM detects an incident? SIM can detect incident based on pattern, based on AI, based on different parameters. The reason that SIM is detecting an incident doesn't mean that it is detective. Because it had a threat intel, it is providing you that input. So change of mindset is required. A lot of people are claiming that SOC is all detective, do not invest in SOC. I'm saying SOC can be preventive, SOC can preempt. You have to configure it in a right way. Government, for you, I think scale matters. So I think whenever you choose a platform, you should choose a platform which is scalable. And now I know that there are some requirements for you that it can be on-prem or on Indian cloud. That is something applicable to government. I personally feel cloud is better because you can use the power of the cloud and it is much more scalable. Because if your organization is spread across 200 cities, 300 cities, it is practically impossible for you to manage connectors and loggers at different sites, because then 2 or 3 people are just logging tickets for RMAs of replacement of device. And if you lose a device, then you lose logs. And then if you lose logs, you lose compliance. So I think those are some of the factors. And obviously, Sukrit definitely will have AI questions for you, so I'll hold up my responses.
So I will continue with you, the next set, which is on SOAR. So SOAR promises automation, and with that automation, implementation can be a bit challenging sometimes. What was your first use case, if I could correlate that? And how do you decide what to automate versus where human intervention is required?
So Sukrit, I think when you deploy a SOAR, one of the tip or the field level guidance I can give you is, don't expect SOAR to be a magic wand day one. You will have to do a lot of efforts in deploying a SOAR. But once that is deployed properly, definitely then you can reap the benefits of it. So the mantra is basically integrate, orchestrate, automate, and remediate. So if you are not following these steps in order, you will end up in a trouble. So when I say integrate, which means that integrate your devices with SOAR. And when I say orchestrate, what you want to run is, so basically orchestrate word comes from orchestra, which means that everybody is playing together as a symphony, because everybody starts playing differently, then it's a noise to our ears. Integrate, orchestrate, and then automate. Then you write your playbooks, because if your platform is not talking to that platform, what will the playbook do? Because then you will not, the device itself is not integrated. So let me take an example. You've got a SOC, you've got a bad IP. You know it is confirmed bad, your threat intel has told you, certain has told you, DSCI has told you, this is confirmed bad. Now you have 100 firewalls to block that IP. If your firewalls are not integrated to your SOC platform, how will you make sure that IP gets blocked in next 10 minutes? That's the power of SOAR. If you have followed these steps correctly and then remediate. Remediate is the final word which will give us the benefits of it. The major chunk is integrate, orchestrate. That's where we have to spend the maximum time. If you do it well, SOAR will reap the benefits. Your mean time to remediate will go down by 70% with SOAR. I can tell you guarantee. And then continuous improvement. Let's say today you have 50 playbooks and you say I resolve 40% of my incidents using automation, 60% requires manual intervention. Now, obviously you can stay put at that stage and say, I'm good, right? Because I'm managing it well. You should constantly analyze 60% of the incidents and say how much of those can be automated. And if you get a new one, go on a drawing board and say, can this be automated? And by the way, not everything can be automated. There will be always some stuff that you will do manually. So that's the thing.
Very rightly put, and I was hearing it sometime, somewhere. The most important currency in the world. Any guesses? What is the most important currency in the world? Data. Any other guess? I heard some other, apart from data, I heard something else. Time, exactly. It's always quoted that we always exchange time, be it employment, be it a cyber scenario, where we are actually competing against the darker side, but we are trying to buy time. And very well put that this is all coming together as an integrated approach. But at the same time, when you talk about the human part, Vivek, my question in continuation to this is, like you mentioned, threat intel from CERT, DSCI, different nodal agencies sending it. How do you stop it from becoming overwhelming for the team and curate actionable using technology? Because our focus of this discussion today has to have a very strong, I would say, buy-in with technology adaptation and innovation. So I know I'm putting you in a place with some tricky questions, but I would like to hear, what do you envisage?
Your question takes me back to 2005, 2006, when I was architecting the security network for Income Tax Department. I was the architect of Income Tax Department's security overlay in 2005, 2006, when they had floated the RFP, and at that time I was heading the security practice for IBM, and we won the deal. We lost the deal for customs, which went to HP. And that time also in all the sessions, this was a question which was asked. So from that to now, it has not changed. And Rishi will agree with me that this has been a thing which troubles all the CISOs all the time. A simple equation, again, I have to repeat, which I used to do then, and it has not changed till now. We all talk about risk. If we have a chest pain, we think it may be heart related, so it has to be taken on a high priority. If it is a leg pain, we take it at a second priority or, compared to heart. Similarly here, if the threat intel is coming and your platform has got a good engagement with your asset database, that is CMDB as we call, where all the assets are there. So you have the asset inventory, and it talks about that asset's criticality. So threat intel with the criticality and connectivity with the vulnerabilities which are there, which are coming from tools like Nessus and all. So threat, vulnerability, and asset. If these three things are known, you can get a risk score. And once you get the risk score, then you know how to go and tackle that problem. So it sounds very simple equation and simple thing to do, but if we can attain that, then we have attained gold standard. And then we know that if we have to, we are getting bombarded with so much of threat intel, but we don't know that that threat intel is for an application which is internal, and that application is in the training department. So it's a low asset. Whereas if it is an internet-facing application and the threat intel is talking about that, that means it is like your heart-related problem. So if you have the threat intel coming, and your asset database and your vulnerabilities telling your risk score. And there are platforms which are doing that. So if you do that, your problem statement diminishes.
True. And you brought out another pertinent point. In the morning itself, we were discussing on application security. And I think who better than the government agencies to talk about it, because we are talking about new age applications for DPIs, for making digitization go far further, not just being confined to the India territory, but even global. I think that growth charter with the aim that we have for $1 trillion economy to making it even $10 trillion by 2047, I think all of these things become all the more important. On that note, there is always a possibility, particularly when you talk about government, you look at a collaboration that is as a structure, I would say closely knit and designed. So do you, and individually you can answer this, that how do you look at a shared SOC for all the ministries as a probable answer, or do you have your concerns with that?
I mean, we can always have a shared SOC. Obviously, some departments will be extra hypersensitive. They can run their own SOC. The power of a shared SOC is, let's say one of you decides to run an individual SOC. There will always be limited funds. The most expensive thing that you can buy in a SOC is threat intel. Now, yet you run your own SOC and you say buying one is enough, buying two is enough. But I can tell you, threat intel is the more the merrier, right? In a shared SOC, when you serve multiple agencies, you have the privilege of getting inputs from a multiple expensive threat feeds, which can directly feed into your SIM, and everybody can get the benefit out of it. Individually, we are as strong as we are as a single unit, but together, I think we are much stronger. Obviously, getting a trusted partner who you can trust for your data. Obviously, you are free to perform your own due diligence, but that's the power of shared SOC. Now, many organizations feel that, why should I outsource my SOC? I should hire my own people. We always feel better if something is running on the side in front of my eyes, but I think we have to come out of that mindset. Running something in front of your eyes, but if it is weak, it's better that it is run by professionals who know, whose bread and butter is running SOC, while government departments can focus on their core business, which can be anything, right? Which can be energy, which can be gas, whatever, right? So I think that's the power, and overwhelming threat intel, we have a solution for it. Let's say you have 6 different sources of threat intel, and as I said, the more the merrier. Let's say you have CERT, you have Mandiant, you have CrowdStrike, you have Recorded Future, you have whatever. You have Flashpoint. Now there is an IP which comes in. It gets pruned into a threat intel gateway. 5 people are saying it's bad. Now you decide, and output is 80% weightage, this IP is bad. Now you can run your playbooks in a way that anything which is 80% and more, go ahead and block, do not ask a human being in between. Let's say you derive a formula, it is 55%. Okay, then I will put human in the loop. He will do further investigation on the IP, and then he will initiate a block. That's where we say human in the loop is very important. I'll take another use case. People sending you reports all over. By the way, your MD's password is on the dark web. Your AGM password is on the dark web. And suddenly you realize, how come, we didn't have any incidents. And then you realize maybe your MD had an account in Marriott, Amazon, they got breached, that's the password. What does it mean for you? Can you run a SOAR playbook in which, let's say you get a feed that 10 directors and above have their password on dark web, do not involve human in the loop and reset their passwords? May not, right? You may not, because you want to dig deep on it. So you can configure your playbooks in a way, the moment VIP number is greater than 5, I want human in the loop. because that may not be a viable input and I want to research it more. And let's say if it is 3, less than 3, go ahead and reset, send an email to supervisor. Your password was found in the latest password dump. We have resetted your password. Here is a new password. So I think there are a lot of use cases that you can achieve. And threat intel is, I always say, the more the merrier. I never call threat intel overwhelming, as long as you have effective ways to prune that information out for actionable information.
So, Sukrit, from the standpoint of whether each department should have their own individual SOC or shared SOC, let's just look at how the ministries are working today. If we talk about physical security, we don't have each ministry having their own physical security setup. The CISF is common. So if CISF is common for all the ministries, and taking clue from what Rishi said, why should we not have security operations like a concept, a shared one? And in that, there is those acumen existing, that what are the use cases for different departments, which is overlapping and can have cross-pollination. So SOC per se, the recommendation will be that why not have one integrated SOC for all the ministries? They may have budget constraint, they may have talent constraint to monitor and manage. They can have individual departmental security teams, which is different for training, for many other activities. But maybe from the SOC per se, they can have a shared team like CISF is there. Until unless it's a super giant ministry, then it's a different thing. In that case, they may go in for their own standalone SOC. For example, Army, Navy, Air Force, they may have their own SOC because of the kind of scale and breadth they have got. But for other cases, depending on the scale and size, they can all pool in and have a centralized SOC and deliver the goods.
Fair enough. I will stitch the next question, drawing cues from the previous panel and something that you guys just touched upon. The previous panel talked about having dependence on open source. There was a question from a gentleman, I believe, where they're talking about third-party vendors serving. So my question here is, when you look at getting these services from organizations which are outside the gambit of government, and you stitch it with another critical aspect of today's both business world, government, resource management. How do you look at that evolution in these two categories put together? Because many times, I'm going to refine this question a little bit. We are giving contracts to organizations for running some of these services, which are dependent on resources. How do we ensure that the minimum benchmarking required to do a particular role is maintained throughout? Because government means critical sector. I'm just generalizing it in one go. We cannot afford to have complacency there. What are your thoughts when you amalgamate this thought with your existing business requirements? Because you are also using resources from your partners who are also having the same problem as the industry is having, right? How do you kind of, what lens are you using, if I try to use this term, what lens are you using to ensure that you don't get sleepless nights because of a partner not having those resources which are required?
So I think, first of all, vendor may be a wrong term. It should be a partnership.
Yeah, partner.
And we have to come out of that mentality that do my mess for less because I can't do it. If you have that mentality, that relationship will fail and we will have sleepless nights because we felt it was messy for me to do. I will give it somebody else. It's a risk transfer. It is never a risk transfer because you are still accountable. So it's better that you treat those teams as your own extended teams. While some organization here may have less risk appetite, they may run dual SOC. that they may have their own high-level monitoring, but eventually granular monitoring is done by somebody else, because that is also your extended team, right? How will a SOC function? You missed an alert because you had a SOC. The third party caught it. What will the third party do? He may not have the business context. Let's say we've got an alert from a domain controller. Now you have a contract with the third party. Whenever you see a high severity alert, contain it. Will the third party contain domain controller? What is the impact to your organization? Then you will say, why the hell did you not call me when you saw an alert on the domain controller? So those kind of shared responsibility metrics have to be defined, like we defined for cloud. How many of you have hold cloud providers accountable of data breach? They will give you shared responsibility metrics. By the way, we were just custodians of your data. You had to implement controls, right? So we have to take full accountability. Then only relationship will work.
So on the third-party engagements, depending on the kind of asset which is at the stake, we will have to work with third party. One is that not working is not an option. Today also, I'll give another small example in the government things. If there are VVIP movements, their transport and drivers are government employees. If they are mid-level or lower level, those transports are given to third parties. So depending on the criticality of the asset, which is the human being or the person at the chair which is being talked about, different persons are given the responsibility in transportation. And that itself is that human asset, that secretary or the minister or a joint secretary or a director, depending on the grade, he's given the travel options. So similarly in the security, and I'm purposely giving the examples of things which you must be day in, day out observing, so that you can correlate from that, from the IT parlance, which Rishi has already brought out. So he's already given the technical thing, I'm giving a flavor more from the government side. So from that perspective, outsourcing with sharing responsibility with that partner, if it is low end, medium end or high end, depending on that, you will have to put your skin in the game, and more or less will depend on the kind of work you are engaging that partner with. So outsourcing is the need of the hour, and shared responsibility is given.
Thank you. I think now we should open it up for questions from the audience. I hope you already had good insights from the panel. Please, can we have a mic, please? There's a question at the last also.
I am Pradeep Kaushal from NIC. In NIC also we are operating a SOC for the government. But when you talk about the SOC of a government, it's altogether at a different level, both in terms of number of attacks that we face and in terms of the volume of data, the logs that we collect. Because we have to ensure the compliance for keeping the logs for 2 years and detecting advanced kind of threats, many kind of threats which are not generally don't happen to the corporate sector. So the normal attacks which we face and anybody faces, generally some traffic going out to a known C2 IP, DDoS traffic, some malicious attacks coming from known malicious actors. That is okay, that can be mitigated using SIEM alerts or using the red intel. But what are your insights on detecting the stealth kind of attacks which are generally launched by the state actors? They persist, evade, and try to exfiltrate important data of the government. So how to detect, mitigate, and prevent such kind of attacks in a SOC?
I think when it comes to nation states, it's very hard battle to win because they have all the power, equipment, money to go after an entity. But at the same time, it is nothing that can go undetected, and that's where I was saying the power of threat intel. I think there was a UNC group from our neighboring country, which is known to be nation state, and they were after a particular industry, which is telco. and they were after the crypto wallets, and they were after the crypto wallets of the high net worth individuals, and they were trying to do SIEM swaps so that they can take over the money. I think how you can detect the nation state is predominantly, from my perspective, and my SOC may be smaller than NIC. I am pumping about 30 terabytes of data on a data lake on a routine basis. Two things have come to my rescue, which is AI and which is threat intel. AI just give you triggers that this is not normal. Now, you have to catch that signal and not work as a traditional SOC. So I'll take an example. If there is an alert on the workstation, what is our normal reaction to that workstation? We are getting so many alerts. By the way, raise a ticket to the IT, get the machine re-imaged, and get the ticket closed. 70% of the times, we don't even get to the root cause of it, how he got that. And we do track DPRK, which is very, very hard to detect, which is like North Korean getting employed in large MNCs, and they work on those modes only. Let's say Raspberry Pi being attached as a IP KVM device to see display on a larger monitor. Would you get a signal to it? Because this is completely stealth at a hardware level. Yes, there are signals for it if you have a proper threat intel and you are catching that anomaly using AI. You cannot create a rule for everything. The stronger your AI is, and your stronger AI can be depending on the data, how much data you have used to train it, and how powerful is your threat intel.
Sir, my question is that as regarding the data securities, suppose as we are talking for the AIs and data protections and all, as when we are using, I just illustrate my question and query, just try to understand. Many things are generated by the AI now. So as a professional, it's very difficult for myself to identify in many cases whether it's a true information or false information. Because by using different AI technologies, maybe the data are the modern times, the many videos and many things are generated in such a way, it's very difficult to identify it's a original, duplicate or false. So as per my thoughts and opinion, there is chances of fraud are much more increasing by using technologies and law. For how we can protect from in the modern fraudulent areas, how we can protect by all things, I know everything is done by the AI, but it only मेरा बोलने का मतलब ये था कि it's very difficult to identify it's a original or duplicate. As a data point, whether it's a true data or false data, this is the.
So are you trying to find a solution to help you identify? Is that your question?
Main thing is how to detect us. Which one is the original information or false or rumor, and how we protect ourselves as a custodian of data and all.
So I think that's the latest challenge we all are facing, firstly. So I'm so happy that you have sounded it off. I think everybody will agree that that is a challenge on the table. AI is the new kid in the block. It is helping us tremendously, and it has its side effects.
I am experiencing, as I am an AI expert and all, but I am confused whether it's original or false. I myself, मैं समझ नहीं पाती how कि ये क्या सच और क्या झूठ है.
So I'll share with you some experiences. If you go on net, there is an attack called BEC, a simple one, BEC, Business Email Compromise Attack. It's a very famous attack, which all of us have experienced sometime or the other. And you will see that the email origin and comes to you, I'm giving a simile. It's also fraud. Is it original or duplicate? We get confused. Even just 15 days back, one of the pharma giants fell victim, 2 crore rupees gone. Just 15 days back, a pharma giant of India, and multiple cases are there. If you see the attack, and they all pertain to fraud pertain to email-based attack, which looks original, and the challenge is whether it is original or fake, people are confused. So I'm giving a simile, and what is the solution for that? In that case, one of the things which people have identified is if that email has something which is of high repercussion, for example, financial transaction, approvals, or something of that nature, then out-of-band communication becomes mandatory. When we say out-of-band, I'm giving that example, and then I'll come to AI. So I'm at the moment talking about that particular case. So in that case, the moment it is saying, do these bank changes and pay me money in this account and all, you think, oh, it has come from X company, that's what we are dealing with, and they must have genuinely sent, the signatory is same. And at times, that partner's email systems have been compromised. So because of fault of his, the email has come, you can still fight and get it solved, is a different thing. So what you do is that you have this kind of attack is so prevalent that one of the checks should be done, your finance team and the payment team should have it that any such changes, it should do out-of-band communication, that is over phone call or SMS or WhatsApp, whatever, confirm these changes so that you have one more additional like MFA kind of thing. Now coming to AI. Now we all are experiencing AI. We are using it day in, day out for different things, but we also know that AI has side effects, that whether it is fake, whether it is hallucination, whether it is data poisoning, which is this, the root cause of that kind of thing. But the moment you see that something is not matching, you know, that somewhere that human element is, that's why people think that AI has come, the human aspect is gone away. You are a right example to see that AI is only empowering you, but not taking away the work or the, things of that nature. You will have to have checks and balances to see some kind of what scenario you are talking about, to do a double verification.
Yes,
you've got the data, you've got everything done, but you need to further do one more check before accepting it.
Yes, sir, because in every day, in routine life, number of SMS and mail are increasing day by day. After 7 p.m., I am receiving SMS and mail in a routine manner. So I can, as an auditor, I can just try to protect myself, how my data is, my client data will be protected in future.
Yeah.
Because as the AI support us, so as per my thoughts and experiences, fraudulence are more increasing in a higher way.
Yes, yes.
So I think to answer this, we do have a segment, and we will have an integrated segment, because all of these things that we are discussing today, they are connected. They are never in isolation. So to answer you, you will have some answers coming in the subsequent segments also. In the interest of time, Ankan, is it a small one? Please, then, because we are already over time, that's why.
Yeah, can we have the mic here, please? Uncle, right? Thank you.
So there's a big focus on Make in India that's coming up, right? And you have a lot of homegrown companies which are coming up with different tools and solutions. So when you, from your perspective, when you're evaluating these companies or tools, how do you go about that process? And are there specific things that you look out for? How do you choose them? Do you find any compelling new players coming up in this space?
In here only, I just met at least 3 to 4 companies who are purely working on SIEM SOAR XDRs. I think it's really fascinating that they are in the right direction. One of the stuff that in the past, my personal opinion possibly, we have failed is scale. But now when I speak to them, I mean, they are scaling up to 20 terabytes, 30 terabytes, 50 terabytes daily ingestion. And they are mixing the power of the cloud and made in India. I'm personally mentoring a couple of companies and guiding them in a way that they can produce world-class products for our Indian companies. I'm particularly very patriotic that India should make the next best world SIEM SOAR. Because what is happening in outside products, there also we are only contributing to the engineering functions. If you
Right.
look at the CPOs of large companies, predominantly they have an Indian origin. Whether you talk about all big three OEMs in security, I think we welcome the homecoming as well, and also the talent here. Here itself, if you visit few booths, I'm not campaigning for anyone, you will find very, very interesting tech which can really meet the requirements.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Shaurya, over to you now.
In the interest of time, we'll really have to wrap it up if we can, please.
Hi, sir. I'm Akash Gupta from NIC Cybersecurity Group. I have a small question. With the introduction of AI in our day-to-day work, so traditional SOC won't work. So, what are the key objective and outcome that is expected from establishing a next-gen SOC?
As Vivek said, AI is mandate. I think when AI uses an attack, AI has to come in defense. Let's say as NIC, you are also seeing large volumes of data being pumped into your data lake. Do you think it's humanly possible to capture an anomaly? No, right? That's the power of AI. Now it's up to humans that I was saying to sir, that anomaly, how deep you go into that anomaly, right? And how humans will get themselves into that I'm able to differentiate between a right anomaly and a wrong anomaly. Let's say, example, the tools are now capable enough to differentiate between a PowerShell hacker usage versus a PowerShell legit use. If I tell my system admin today, by the way, disable PowerShell in the organization, he'll say, what are you talking? I have like hundreds of automations running on PowerShell. My tools should be capable and my SOC should be capable enough and say, why somebody is running an encoded PowerShell? Why I don't have visibility on that encoded PowerShell? I think that's where the power of AI is. We should be able to differentiate. I have my reservations that L1 role will go away. I still feel that L1s will have a role to play. Maybe they will become L2. And the bandwidth that they will enjoy will be used in threat hunting in their own environment, but I still feel that they are required.
Okay, thank you so much. We'll need to wrap it up. Thank you for very actionable and I think action-oriented questions as well. Thank you so much. I'll be, again, please put your hands together for Mr. Rishi Rajpal, Mr. Vivek Gupta, Mr. Sukrit Ghosh. To felicitate all three of them, may I please call upon MD at 63 SAT Cybertech. May I please call upon Mr. Nihar Pathare, please. Thank you so much. Big round of applause for Nihar, sir. Inzbam, if you can please do the honors. We can start with Mr. Rishi Rajpal, sir. Round of applause, please. Should keep on coming. Keep on coming. Thank you. Nihar, sir, and please request you to give it to Mr. Vivek Gupta. Round of applause once again. And yes, moderating this session, Mr. Sukrit Ghosh, Director, DSCI. Nihar, sir, thank you so much. Can we quickly also have a group photograph, please? Thank you. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you so much. Rishi, sir, thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. Aye, sir. Our final, our panel 3 is, we move on to that and we focus on incident response and forensics from detection to mitigation. We'll cover